This is Van Electric Ghost doing live on the air with Tara Wiskow, your intuitive energy healer, and we're going to talk to you today about your story, and we're going to talk about this is like the primary focus is how to stop self abandonment and reclaim your power. But we've got your LinkedIn, not LinkedIn, but your Calendly there, so people I guess would be able to book something with you there. So it's Calendly.com, Tara Wiskow, rising into my power. Now, people don't have to remember that. You'll be able to click through on that. We're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So in the podcast description on those channels, you'll be able to click through on that. And so we'll get to that more in a bit. But a couple of questions we ask any guest that's on the show is what motivates you and why do you do what you do?
What motivates me and why do I do what I do? Oh my goodness. Knowing that I can use my story and use my journey of what I went through in life is what motivates me to get up every single day and know that that gives me the ability to help other women. It motivates me to know that I can help women understand and know that they have a power within them that they don't realize is there, and that all they have to do is start going inward and connecting with it and using their voice to make that change. That motivates me every day to get out of bed and get going and seeing the changes that occur when I'm working with women. And why do I do what I do? Because this world needs more female voices. And when I say that, it's not because I'm not about men. I have 3 boys. I have 3 amazing young men that I was a single mom of for a number of years. But for me, it's women that I work with that are in the constant state of self-abandonment, and they don't see themselves as worthy of having a voice. And I want women to rise up and know that they can stand equally next to a man and that they have just as much worth as all the men out there. And that if they link elbows with the men in their life and stand empowered, they're going to become a team together that's going to be a force to be reckoned with. So that's why I do what I do. I love helping women.
Yeah, that's a really aspirational and powerful thing that you're doing because you're in the like you pay it forward. You help people. Like you go through your own
Oh,
things and then we get lessons learned. It's like in software. Software design is my day gig. And we always have these like lessons learned because like
yep.
we always know what we don't know. And so we
Yeah.
go through like an idea like continual development. Like you ever notice your phone, right? Your app is always updating. So
Yes.
software is like never done. We've gotten to this mindset where now we have software that's in continual development. Is that
I like
whatever
that.
we didn't know yesterday was like, okay, we admit we didn't know it and then we're willing to fix it. And then we send the update out. So it's
Yeah,
always about self improvement. It's always about making it better. And if you
I
think about
agree.
like your life, I mean, you're not a machine, you're not software, but you can reprogram what's in here, kind of like the programming we do in software.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I love that. That's a great way to look at it. And I have a poster on my wall that says the only person you're in competition with is who you were yesterday. So totally speaks to that.
Yeah, in the US right now, like we're going through like a phase where people like I was a child of the 70s and we saw people going for the Equal Rights Amendment, people going through civil rights, the tail end of
Mhm.
it. My father getting opportunities, got to go into management. Now there are people saying, oh, get rid of all that. Like we want male energy. And I'm like, what? What is
Yeah,
that? Like, what is
yeah.
it's like? Because I have a daughter, you know, um, and I just don't see why anyone would be better than her because of
Right,
their
right.
gender. That she shouldn't be able to do whatever she wants to do. She shouldn't be able to
Mhm.
aspire to be in any boardroom, any area of the world she wants to be in. And some people want to just gender specific. Like, if she wanted to go in the military and be a general, she should be able to
Mhm.
do that. She wanted to go
Yep.
some other place, she should be able to do that. It's like, what are these people trying to fit people back into boxes? What's up with that?
Yeah, I love that. And I agree with you. And that's really where that's my work. as an intuitive healer is to help women to release the energy, release the block, release the identities that are holding them back from being able to stand up authentically and to be proud of who they are and to claim their voice and to know exactly who they're meant to be. What I find with us women primarily is that we have no idea who we're supposed to be because we're in a constant state of self-abandonment. We're burnt out. We're in this space of people pleasing and making sure everybody in our life is okay and taken care of and have what they want, but we don't know what we want. We no
Mhm.
longer know who we are. And therefore, we're not putting ourselves where we truly know we want to be. And we're missing opportunities. We're missing chances that will put us exactly what's going to put us in a place that's going to make us happy and bring us into that state of peace and joy in life that we belong and that we deserve, just like any man in the world.
Well, I think everybody, being a creator, I think everybody should be able to kind of self-actualize. And what
Mm.
I find is a lot of people, I deal with people who are artists, male, female,
Hmm.
anywhere in between, and and there's a lot of people they don't give they don't feel they have a permission structure. Like
Yes.
you run into artists and they have these stage selves, right? So they have the stagecraft, and so you could think that that person's super confident because you've seen them on stage. When
Hmm.
you get them off stage and you're actually working with them, they're like so full of doubt, so full of like they don't know what they want to do. They don't have what you saw on stage.
Yes.
They kind of like that is like not their life. And you're
Yeah.
like, wow, the
Yeah.
dichotomy of it is like, and you have to kind of build them up to make them realize like you can do this.
Hmm.
You can do, and you wouldn't think you would have to. So then it's like when you have somebody that you've seen seems like they're more assertive than they are,
Hmm.
and you can kind of imagine like, wow, it's like if this person's not as assertive as they appear to be, like how's everybody else?
Right. 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 Yeah. It makes you question yourself in those moments, for
Yeah, it
sure.
just seems like like everybody needs to give themselves that ability to like break their own glass ceiling.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times I think people they'll think they're like they're not good enough, the imposter syndrome,
Hmm.
or the people pleasing like you mentioned,
Yep.
and it's like you're not living for what you want to live for. You're living for your obligations, or you're living for the societal role that you feel you have to be in because it's a culture thing. It's a
Hmm.
macrocosm thing. It's a microcosm thing, but it's not your individual thing. That
Exactly.
like
Exactly.
until you hit the crucible moment, it's like, hey, I need to talk to a therapist because I'm not happy where I am.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, I love it. So true.
So like your story was like you lost 220 pounds and you overcoming trauma, and you were able to get past that kind of trauma of like not being in the physical body you wanted to be in.
Yeah.
Um, so is that where you really started to see what you could do when you were able to get past that?
Yeah. It's really interesting the journey of what I went through. I lost 220 pounds naturally, hard work. And after I'd lost that, I really believed that I would feel confident and proud and have no doubts about myself. But even after losing that much weight, having a body that I loved, became a bodybuilder and was on stages in competitions, took first place in my age category in a competition, and still I doubted myself. I still didn't see myself as good enough. I still looked for that external validation of, like you're talking about, permission and feeling like I had to have permission to be loved, permission to be accepted, permission to fit in. Always trying to do more, have more, be more constantly, and never believing that I could ever make it happen. And I remember sitting out on the deck at home here and talking with a friend, and I remember saying to her, "I feel like I'm living the wrong life. Something's missing in my life and I can't figure it out and I don't understand." And I said, I'm wondering when I'm ever going to accomplish anything in life." And she was silent for a second and she said, whoa, Tara, wait, when are you going to accomplish something in your life? I said, yeah, like when? She goes, Tara, you've lost 220 pounds. You've opened a brick and mortar gym. You've changed hundreds of women's lives as a weight loss coach. You've opened a speaking business. You speak on stages. What do you mean? When are you going to accomplish anything? Because you've accomplished a lot. But I couldn't see that. I couldn't see that I'd accomplished that. I felt like I was constantly in this state of not ever getting to where I was meant to be.
You're maybe moving the goalpost all the time. Because I think like some days you get the person, I want $1 million, then they want $2 million, they want 3 million, because
Yes.
like the $1 million isn't what they needed. What they
Yes.
needed, it was like to feel secure. Like if they don't feel secure, if they don't feel safe, right? If
Yes.
they don't feel
Yes.
validated, it doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't even matter how much power you have. If you ever you go back to the Victorians, right? I always like to get into the idea, the looking glass self.
Yep.
Like a lot of the Victorian poets, like Blake and Tennyson, Wordsworth, all they had this idea runs through their poetry of that
Mhm.
self-examination. Are you willing to do it?
Yeah.
Do you see who that person is, or do you not see all the shades of who you are? Right? Do you
Mhm.
actually look at yourself with self-criticism
Right.
and
Right.
try to figure out what it is, or do you do the blame game? Like it's the
Yes.
other. It's
Yes.
like it's my past. It's all I can't do anything. Right?
Yeah.
Like, so you can't. You use all the can'ts, and where's the will? Where's the will to do what you need to do?
And I had so much will to do anything and everything for everybody else. That was never a problem. I was willing to open a gym in 30 days because I had 5 people say, "Please tell me you're going to open the gym in town so we have a place to work out." So in 30 days, my family and I opened this up. They wanted to have smoothies and acai bowls. So I opened up Bully Bites and had that available. I did all these things for the purpose of pleasing others and getting that instant gratification of also external validation. But I wasn't willing to do the will on myself. And I
Mhm.
love that you talk about just that going in and being willing to really harness your own self, because that's where I was at. As I lost my sister in 2023. This is really what brought me into opening intuitively. She's 39 years old, and 5 months and 1 week after being diagnosed with bile duct cancer, she was gone. And in that moment, I remember sitting with that and asking myself, like, what I wanted to see with my life. And that vulnerable moment of opening up and starting to look at all that I had done in my life and asking myself, why can't you see that? Why can't you see what you have done? Why can't you connect the dots? And that's where I started to realize that I needed to start healing.
Mhm.
I needed to do healing on the inside. There were things missing, things were not connecting. I wasn't connecting the dots. And so I enrolled into a 5 month course of becoming an NLP practitioner, neuro linguistic programming. And when I share this with you, it's kind of funny because I did this. I did this for my women in my weight loss program. That's the only reason why I did this. I will go through 5 months of intense training and learn everything I need to learn for releasing limiting beliefs. I'll do all this extensive work and learn it for the betterment of my women. What I didn't know was coming down the pipeline is that Tara was going to get her booty handed to her because she was going to learn. She had a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of negative emotions, a lot of things that had to be released and shifted. And it opened me up to realize how broken I was and how unfinished I was in my journey of self development. I thought I'd done it all. I'd lost 220 pounds. I thought I'd made it. What I didn't know is I'd lost the external, the exterior, but
Yeah.
I hadn't shifted the internal. I was lying for many years saying I had.
I think a lot of times, like in our education system, we don't get the training. Like, if you're
Mhm.
into sports, you do it 10,000 hours to get the rep, to get the play done. You're into
Mhm.
music, you did the 10,000 hours to learn the violin.
Yeah,
But anybody ever tell you how to handle your emotions? Right?
never.
You might go to college and take psychology or sociology, but you don't learn it when you're in the development stage. No
Yeah, you
one's
were right.
telling you how to handle life, right? And
Mhm.
maybe if you read some of the older books or you read some, but the focus is like is not on those things. Like you don't really
Mhm.
get to the level where you could actually understand it until you get to college. You get the master's degree, you get the doctoral degrees. People don't get those skills, and then they have to find it on
Yeah.
their own or through coaching or through some other things. Like they hit the crucible moment, and then they start looking for it. And it's just it's such a shame that we don't you know feel the need. 'Cause, oh, those are the foo-foo things, like, you just suck it up, the
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's you're 25 and 30, and now you're sitting in a chair asking for help because you can't figure out what's going on, right? It's like you hit that breaking point where you don't know how to keep moving forward and you're asking for help. Versus if we taught that early. And in the school systems, they are starting to bring that in some of the schools, the emotional learning, they are starting to bring that in because it's needed in
yeah, 'cause we
today's
can see what's
world.
going on with the world,
Yes.
where there's so many people, you get these, like, you see it in adults when you get the road rage.
Yeah.
You get the
Yes.
you get the person to go in, like, the postal situation. You get
Yeah.
these behaviors, like, where's that coming from? Where people are, like, untreated in their
Right.
trauma. Right?
Mhm.
And they haven't dealt with, like, their id, the superego, all the things you get deep in the mind, and
Right.
people spend so much time, like, on the surface. Like, I was talking to a guy with a six-pack ab, like, bodybuilder, had a whole
Yep.
business, but he kind of was like he was honest on the show. He's like, I'm training all these people to have the perfect body, but I looked in the looking glass, I didn't see that guy with the abs. I saw
Right?
somebody that I didn't like.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
that these people get into the surface level things with the money or what they look like. You get get an operation, you get a cosmetic surgery, you do all these things, but then you never dealt with the root cause. It's like the root
Exactly.
cause analysis when we were figuring out why did the software fail? Because
Yes.
but the foundation, there was something wrong in the fundamental foundation of the structure. There's
I
something
agree.
done in the core, like your house. If you have a cracked foundation, it's not going to be able to hold
Right?
like all the artifice that you put on top of it. And if you don't look at that, you say, "Oh, maybe it'll get better." The crack keeps on getting wider and wider and wider. It's like, no, it's not getting better.
I agree. And it's easy to do. And I can relate with that guy because you look in the mirror. I mean, I would look in the mirror and still see me at 338 pounds, even though I had 10% body fat and I was 120 pounds. I could not see what I'd done. I couldn't see that progress. I was still running from being the woman that I was. I was still running from that woman that I did not love and I saw no value in. And it made for a very unhealthy life. And it was when I started to do the healing work, going in and being willing to look into the looking glass and really own what I needed to own and make these shifts and stop self-abandoning. Self-abandonment, we talk about it. And it's easy to slip into the victim mentality or the blame game around self abandonment. I abandoned myself because my husband or my children or my job or my dog, it's easy to slip into that. We don't connect the dots to be able to say, I self abandon myself because I'm not willing to look at what needs to be healed, changed, fixed, right? I'm not looking at my foundation. I'm not looking at the cracks at the base. I'm not looking at what's being done that I'm not repairing. That's looking in the looking glass and choosing not to self abandon anymore, is facing that, owning that, and becoming aware of it and then admitting it. I always say that there's the 3A structure to anything that you choose to do. Number one is become aware. Number two, you have to admit that
Mhm,
you're aware of it. I don't care how aware you are of things. You can choose not to admit you're aware of it, and then nothing's going to change. Because
mhm.
number three is take action. But you won't take action until you admit that there's something that needs to change, and you have to be the one at the helm of the change.
Yeah, it's definitely you have to take the, internal litmus test. I think a lot of times people have a sense of safety in their own, like, the codependency of their own
Mm.
bad habits,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
you would be codependent to, like, your bad, uh, you know, traits, like
Mhm.
things that you're doing on a loop.
It's
Eh,
your comfort
yeah,
zone. You're
yeah, and
very comfortable because you know it. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
safer to be in something that's actually bad for you
Mhm.
than the thing that is good for you because you have more fear on the thing that's unknown. Maybe the good
Exactly.
thing that's for you that you should be headed toward is more scary than the trauma that you're putting yourself through every day.
And it's shifting how you look at that. Like my women in my programs, we talk about that. Is that fear of they'll say, well, this is easier, and I always ask them, like, is it really easy? Like, you, what's easy? Define easy for me, because let's look at what you're going through. Does it really feel easy to have the struggles you're having versus doing the work to get what you want? They're both hard. It's really choosing your heart. If you shift the language from it's easier to be here and say, well, let's choose the hard you'd rather have, that has an entirely different perspective on it. And all of a sudden, you're willing to do the work to get to where you want because this hard is not enjoyable versus doing a hard that is enjoyable. But they talk about that. I think it's Jim Rohn that always talks about being in your comfort zone. Like if you stay in your comfort zone, that's where you're comfortable. What you're doing that's actually hindering your health or hindering your wellness, you know it. And so your brain wants to keep you there.
Yeah,
That
things are
is
safe.
your,
It
yeah.
thinks anything else is the wolf at the door.
Yeah, yeah. So it's trying to push it away, like get rid of it. It's like caveman, it's like you're always in fight or flight, and your brain is number one job is to protect you. So it's going to keep you where you know what you are doing. It's like we have the limiting belief. Most
Yeah,
of us on this earth, the limiting belief is I'm not smart enough. So anytime we go to learn something new, your brain is like, oh, remember, Tara,
exactly.
you're not smart enough to do this. So just stay where you're at.
Yeah,
Right.
well, the thing is, we get the comparison trap. I'm not going to be Edison. I'm not going to be Tesla. I'm not going to be Da Vinci. So why
Yeah.
should I even try? Right? Compare it
Right.
to somebody that says throws it at the wall, and like there's no wrong answer. It's like there's an answer, right? And you have to learn. It's like anything you do. Like if you're a musician, the first day you pick up that violin, nobody wants to hear you, right?
Right.
But if you're willing to deal with that noise of
Yeah.
the noise of people saying you're terrible. And so some people immediately hear terrible, they just drop it. Other
Yeah.
people, they put some work in and then they don't hit the goal because like, oh, I don't sound like somebody playing some John Williams tune, like oh, if
Yeah.
I can't do that, then I'm no good. Like a new guys is like guitar players. If I can't play like Led Belly or Jimmy Page or Hendrix, I'm done. I said, what about the punk aesthetic? Like a Joey Ramone, a Joe Storm from the Clash. They didn't care that they weren't Jimmy Page, and they
Right.
sold millions of records. Like you don't have to be that guy. Like you need to be you. Like because your
No,
secret sauce is you.
exactly. And Jimmy Page did not start out of the womb playing the
0 to
best
100.
ever. He had to start with the screeching, terrible music that made you want to run. Like he had to start there, and then he honed his skill and became who he was, which was a famous player and amazing at his talent. And that's where everybody has to start, whether it's music, whether it's in the kitchen, whether it's in the gym. It doesn't matter what you're doing, bike riding. It's
Yeah,
you
it's like
got to
when you're a
start.
kid
And
and you get that bike, right? You're willing to fall off the bike to learn how to ride a bike. But
yeah,
if you're somebody that never learned how to ride a bike and you're like 40 trying to ride a bike, you might not actually really learn it. Because you might
right.
be too scared about, oh, people gonna see me falling down, or I'm gonna get hurt. The
Yeah.
kid is like, don't care. He's busting up his knees, like he keeps on doing it till he gets it. I knew, as a child of the '70s, jumping on the skateboard, falling down, not getting it.
Right.
You keep on doing it. When you're the childlike innocence
Yeah.
that keeps you as a creative, that allows you to kind of throw things at the wall and say, "Oh, why would you do that? Like, why not?" Right? When you get older, it's people start saying, "Well, you shouldn't do that." Or
Yes.
you're
Yeah.
pushing it. Why are you doing that? It's like the child doesn't care about that. Like if in the creative person that lets that noise not hit them
Yeah.
or hit them, is like they're willing to kind of be at the edge of the bell curves.
Yeah.
They're in the kind of unknown frontier
I like it.
of being in that unfound sound or unfound piece of art or unfound spoken statement or idea because you're
Mhm.
willing to put it out there and you don't care. I mean, you might care, but it's not going to hurt you. It's not going to kill you.
And I think it's too like letting go of the end result, letting go of the outcome and just enjoying the journey. Being it's like not getting out of your comfort zone and failing forward, as they say, or loving the mistakes that you make, because you get to have the experience of learning through the experience and becoming stronger and more fluent and adding more things to your repertoire of knowledge. Like that's what I had to get to. They always say stop going wider. Like anytime that you're going in and starting a business or starting a new initiative or wanting to learn to play the guitar, it's like you want to, instead of go deeper into it and get better and progress and grow and have more in that space, you always want to go wider. Like keep reaching out, keep reaching out. Like I did that for years. I was a personal trainer. Well, then I had to become a nutrition coach, and then I need to become a massage therapist, rather than go deeper into that field and really hone my skill
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
It's we do that, right? Because we're constantly lacking our belief and our ability to actually hone it, learn it, and do it. So it's just choosing to be right there in there and going after what you want and shifting your perspective of having to get to the end result by a certain time, and instead just enjoy the journey of
Enjoy
what
the
you're
ride.
going through.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a Jack Kerouac on the road. It's like, you get out there, it's like the undiscovered country. It's like you go looking for it, and a lot of times, it's like a musician, like we're looking for something, and we'll try a lot of different things, try different instruments, try different tuning, try this, try that, and then it doesn't work, and you let it go, right? And then you
Right.
go back to it. But there's some people that will sit there and they'll do like all day, all night, all week, like
Yeah.
100 versions of the song, and then what happens sometimes is this drive for perfection wrecks it,
Mm.
right? So
Sure.
there's a balance where, like, so a lot of times, if you talk to a lot of great artists, they'll say, you know what, Neil Young is like, a lot of my stuff's like third, fourth take, not
Huh.
take 101, not take 104, because I learned that if I go and do that take 100, I wreck the song, because
Sure.
I start not trusting it. I start not being comfortable with what I originally was doing, because
Yeah.
maybe it was too close to the truth.
Yeah, I like
And
that.
and so sometimes it's like you have to allow the kind of imperfections of the world, of like being in the flow state in the moment, kind of improvisational jazz or modal jazz.
Mhm.
A lot of the aspects of like Coltrane and Davis were, they had structure, they knew about structure, they were good enough that they could do the note for note, but they started to go into the area. I don't want it to be note for note. I want it to be a feeling. I want it to be out in the kind of muse in the moment, in the field of where I am, the people I'm around. And I could go back to a structure, but I want to have that kind of wild abandonment of the moment,
Sure.
like the
Sure.
paint stroke, and that's good. I mean,
Mhm.
that can be good. That can be, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's a
Yeah.
kind of its own beauty in that moment.
And that's where you get that authenticity of just being yourself and being in it authentically. And that's really where the beauty comes, whether it's again music or art or whatever you're choosing to do, or even me in the intuitive healing space, being myself and knowing that what I offer and my gifts and my skills, they have to be true to me. They have to be comfortable to me. They have to feel good to me, not me trying to be what society says an intuitive healer is. It's
Hmm.
me, right? That's
Have to play
another
a
sense
role,
of,
being
yeah,
being you.
right,
Not
right,
not trying to do like a scripted infomercial, but
right,
doing like a live
exactly.
podcast, and they don't, there's no like take 1, take 2, no, it's like right now.
Yes. Yes, when I first started my podcast, it was painful because I would not just let it flow. I believed it had to be perfect, and the first episode is brutal, absolutely brutal. And now I just let it flow. Like you and I were talking before you hit record. It's like I don't edit. What I say is what flows, because I believe that whatever's being said is going to be connecting with those my listeners that need to hear it. And I always say you can't say the wrong thing to the right people, and you can't say the right thing to the wrong people. The right thing to the wrong or the wrong thing to the right, like either or. And so just letting yourself authentically flow and put the message out there and be yourself, that's going to connect with who you need to connect with in that moment, no matter what you do. It
Yeah,
doesn't
because
matter.
because being disconnected sometimes is because you're trying to make the wrong connection.
Well, and you're trying to be somebody that fits in and is good enough or is believed to be valuable. Like it's who we think people want us to be rather than asking ourselves, who are you? I remember filling out a resume a number of years ago. Sadly, it's not that long ago. It should be a lot longer ago, but I had no idea hobbies. I remember asking my one of my best friends, "What are your hobbies?" She's like, "Why are you asking me?" I said, "I have to fill out a resume." Why are you asking me my hobbies then? Because I need to put some hobbies and I don't know what my hobbies are. I had no idea who I was. I didn't know what I liked because I never did anything that I enjoyed. I didn't think I was valuable enough. I believed
Mm,
that what everybody else did is what I should do. That's just
yeah.
how I, and then of course, like you said, that blame game, I blamed it on where we live in far north Minnesota. Like, that's just because there's nothing to do around
Nothing
here.
to do.
Yeah, that's not true. It's because I choose not to do what I enjoy because I have no idea what I enjoy.
Yeah, because we just put these boxes around us and kind of to be the unboxed life, and you run
Mm.
into it. I always find it real interesting. Like I work in corporate America, and I got into a smaller kind of entrepreneurial company because I got tired of being in these big Fortune 500s where they said they wanted creative people,
Ah,
but
yes.
then they put you in a box. They kind
Yes.
of feel like lightning in a bottle and wonder why lightning doesn't want to be in a bottle. Because it doesn't work that way. Like, the people who are going to be on the outer edges of that bell curve don't actually fit in the bell curve in the middle, and you
Yeah,
want everybody to be in that bell curve, but that's not where those results you're looking for are coming from.
exactly. We cannot do our best work when we're in a box that is not allowing ourselves to be out wide open and free to be ourselves.
Yeah, it
Yes.
seems to be such a like, people think they can, like I said, the lightning in a bottle, they wanna capture that.
Yeah.
It's like you can't force that. It
Mm-mm.
usually comes from like the flow state or like the idea of the muse is like or people who are in tune with that. And so if you're yeah, that is such a hard thing because the accountant kind of actuarial type of mindset. Oh, I want to quantify that. And I know about left brain, right brain, right? And yeah, the
Yep.
logic is important,
Yep.
but we're human beings. And a lot of what we do is based on kind of like soul,
Yes.
spirit, heart, emotion.
Yeah.
And sometimes that passion, these inventive things, it don't just come from the logic. They come from that other side.
They
And
do, and
like
it's
and they don't get some people just don't get it.
well, and I think it's because it's a comfort. Again, it's comfort zone. Like we talk about the masculine and feminine energy. I've One thing that my husband and I have always struggled with is I've always been very in that masculine energy of do, 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 do. But I used to get offended when he would say, "You have such masculine energy." I thought he was calling me a man. And when you're
Oh,
a woman that
you are.
strives to have muscle, right? I
Yeah,
was like,
you are.
"I'm not a man." And he's like, "I'm not saying you're a man. I'm saying you have masculine energy." I'm like, "Same thing." What I did not connect, and now I understand in the space of spiritual work that I am, that masculine energy is all doing. It's do. It's very much left brain. It's very logical. Where you bring in that feminine energy, that's where you've got the flow. That's where you have the manifestation, the
Your
attraction, the coming
creativity.
to.
Like, a lot of people say that the way you birth ideas is feminine. It's like the
Yes.
divine feminine, right? So a
Yeah.
lot of times
Yeah.
when artists, sometimes male artists, are criticized by being too effeminate because they've tapped into that female kind of divine feminine, right? Because the creativity, it seems to be, I think everybody has a little male and female in them. It's
We
like
all
yin and
do.
yang.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you call on that creativity, the left right brain,
Hmm.
it tends to go that way. And then some people are like, oh, I don't like that. Because
But you're
they get so stuck in their gender identity that they can't be open to
allowing themselves to have the flow.
flow,
Yeah.
yeah, and
But
they say,
it's
"Well, that's not male." It's like, "Well, like, what about Shakespeare?" Come on.
You have to have both.
Give me a break.
Yeah. It's like that creativity is your feminine. If you allow your right brain, your creative side to just flow, but you have to have both. And that's what I didn't have for years. Like it's interesting when I look at programs that I built out. One like Weight Loss Revolutionized is where I work with women in the weight loss space. I had very masculine energy. Do. And when I look now, I had changed it because I had to, but it was very much bringing women through in that get this done, get this done, get this done. It was like kind of
Yeah.
energy because
Like a
I wasn't
drill sergeant.
that, you know what? I've been called that, honestly. So yes. But when I brought that flow in of like having that energy and just like enjoyment and visualizations, it makes a really good mix. And it's not natural for us. Like for me, I always have a candle going. That's my feminine. But
Mhm.
then I have just the different pieces of like your computer and all that. That's masculine. That's like the do part of it. So I have both of them with me to allow me to tap into both. Men
Yeah.
and women, we all have it and we should
It's
all
that
use it
balance
enough.
where some people get, like, out of balance or they get fearful
Yeah.
of, like, "Where is this coming from?" And it doesn't oh, that's I've been kinda it's stigmatized, right? Like, they feel
Yeah.
shame about it.
Ah, so true. Shame.
And when you get
Yes.
I've run into a lot of artists, and it's like, "This is your talent. Why are you ashamed of it?" But they
Yeah.
were kinda it's kinda put into them that that's, like, the wrong thing. But
Right.
that's the
Right.
thing that they actually feel, right? That's where
Yeah.
and so it's like, is the when you if you are, like, hating yourself
Mm-hmm.
because, like, somebody told you that that's not correct, that's not the right way, right? So
Exactly.
and so then you have to get around that, you have to get over it, you have to get into it and understand
Yeah.
and pull yourself out of it, and then that's why, like, artists, because it's very cathartic for me, is, like, once I dive into something you
Mm-hmm.
process it. It's kinda like a therapy session with yourself.
Yes.
When you write
Yes.
that song, you do that piece of art, by the time if you're honest with yourself and you're being vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
then it comes out, and then
So
you're
true.
able to kinda learn from it. And, if you put it out in the world, then you really do get the impact of people actually, giving you feedback on it, and then it becomes something that's connected. It's not just it was inside, now it's outside, now the world's got it, now you're getting feedback loop, and now you're like, "Okay, now people see it." So
Y-
you've been honest with yourself and you put it out in the world.
And that's how you connect. Like when you say that, like when you're making music, when you're making art, when you're doing what you do, how you best connect is when you allow yourself to be yourself. And it's allowing yourself to go in and honor yourself and just allow yourself to do your best work without asking what everybody else wants you to do or asking permission from others of how should I do this? I mean, we all do that. I used to do that. I used to go out and say, well, what do you think I should do in this program? How do you think I should build this out? Do you think it's a good idea? Rather than me ask myself what I think is the best because I'm the one that's going to create it. And it's as musicians, it's really allowing yourself to create what's authentic to you. And that's where you will relate and connect at the deepest level. And you will I mean, you'll move mountains. You move
Yeah.
mountains in that
It's like
case.
it's a law of attraction because sometimes like you could be in a certain zone. And this
Right.
happens with artists, like, Dylan's real famous for this, is he was a folkie and then he
Yeah.
went electric. He went electric in front of the folk crowd and they said, "No way." Right, and so they're like, "No, no, no," and there's actually like I have an actual, like, album where when he went electric in England, people started calling him Judas, and they were yelling Judas, and he yelled, "I don't believe you." He didn't stop the show, he kept on going,
Nice.
and he went through the whole show, he did, like, another hour. So people are like, "Wow," like, it's like he knew where he wanted to go, and he was getting the feedback, but he's like, "That's the crowd's not where I am." His 66, the crowd isn't there. But by 72, 74, those same songs played the same way, filled stadiums. So sometimes, like, where
Oh,
you are
yes.
is not
Yes.
where they are, but
Ah,
that
so
doesn't mean
true.
that you shouldn't be there.
That gives me such big goosebumps because that is the world. So many people that are meant to pave paths, like they've got the machete and they are making new terrain of new ideas and new developments. And as soon as they hit that block of judgment, they put the machete away and they turn around and they say it's not a good idea. And then years down the road, somebody else comes in and does what they were doing 5 years before, and that person gets the credit, but they were the one that started the journey. They started paving the path and clearing it out. And it's because we don't believe in ourselves. And I'm finding like so much of what you're talking about. Like I love law of attraction and I love that story that you shared, but we give up on ourselves, or like you're talking about the musicians that think that it's bad, or if they're like this there's something wrong with them. All it is limiting beliefs. It's limiting beliefs that you believe to be true for you at some point in your life, and it's usually going to be before your birth. And if you believe in past lives, it
Mhm.
could have come from you past lives. Generationally, if you believe in things being passed down generationally, you'll have this belief that'll come with you from there. When you're in the womb, during your birth, or in your imprinting phase of 0 to 7 years old, these limiting beliefs are with us. They create a file folder when they're first created. And as you go through years of life, you continue to build this file folder out of all these beliefs that are truth. So if the belief is, I'm not smart enough, well, if you created that when you were 2 years old and you've continued and now you're 44, that file folder is full of a lot of proof that you're not smart enough because you've
Mhm.
lived behind that belief. So when I go in with my clients and I do the intuitive work of understanding what the blocks are, and we uncover these limiting beliefs, we extract that file folder out and it no longer exists within them. And that's when like things start to shift in their life. They start going out and doing things that they never would have done before because they thought they weren't smart enough. They start creating their own things, their own style, because they now know they've always been smart enough, but this belief kept them held back,
Yeah,
playing small.
get them like in their room. Cause I like you kind of get stuck in your room, like your own room. And there's this,
Yeah.
do you have this signature process that I was going to get into, like the unravel, upgrade, up level? And I think we've been talking about it
Yeah.
inadvertently. But yeah, it just seems like sometimes you have to like it seems it makes a lot of sense. You unravel, you upgrade, you up level.
Yes.
But you can
Yes.
kind of maybe we've been talking about it, but you can kind of maybe specifically address those three U's.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and unraveling is the unbecoming of who you've always been. It's releasing those limiting beliefs. It's releasing negative emotions of anger, sadness, fear, shame, guilt. We don't realize how much all of that blocks our ability to be ourselves. They're truly identities that live in us that we're living behind. And then when we go in and release the negative energy, the discarnate, the stagnant, the imprints, the foreign energies that are not our energies, it's energies within us that we as empaths have taken on. We've also given our energy away. We're now a 1,000 piece puzzle that only has 977 pieces. And we can't
Mhm.
figure out why we can't be whole and we can't feel limitless. Well, we don't have all our pieces, and we have a lot of pieces that don't belong to us. So in the unraveling, it's getting rid of all that garbage and energy and all the ways that we've been that's not in alignment with who we are. And then we step into that upgrade. We start to upgrade ourselves with new thoughts and new beliefs and new actions and new ways of showing up. And then once we've got that established, now we can up level. Who do you want to become? Now that we've cleared you and unraveled you, we've upgraded you. Now is where the magic happens, because we up level and you become whoever you want to be. There are no blocks. There's nobody that you're waiting to give you permission. You don't need external validation. You know who you are and who you want to be, and you just go and do it.
Yeah, so when you're kind of living your best life and you're
Yes.
like you're totally self-actualized, you know. And I remember
Yeah.
like there was this idea, one idea like I was watching an interview with David Bowie,
Okay.
and he was talking about like how he initially tried to get into the music industry kind of looking like the Beatles. He actually wore like a gray suit and tie, kind of
Okay.
buttoned down, trying to look like them, trying to sing like them.
Okay.
But he really loved theater, right? And he said like, what he was with his wife, and he's like, what if I actually get into theater and like I mix this like sci-fi stuff with
Mm,
theater, with psychedelic, with rock, and actually do this other thing and like this, like create this character, Ziggy, right?
love
And
it.
then Ziggy became Bowie and he actualized like this fantasy idea in his head. Then people thought he was Ziggy. And then he played it like a method actor and he actually was like Ziggy when he played it. Like he became what he actually was aspiring to be. He's like, I want to be a rock superstar. He created a fictional character was a rock superstar, and then he became it.
So awesome.
So
So awesome.
you're like, wow, he actually did it.
And that's exactly of the unravel. Like he's trying to be a beetle. He had to unravel from that way of showing up, right? And then he had to upgrade by choosing who do I want to be? What do I want? What's my style? And then he up leveled to go after and do it. And exactly he made magic happen. I mean, seriously, that's what I do with my women. And it's possible for all of us to do that. And just that's a great example. You shared a lot of great stories. I love that you know what you know and you can share the stories so fluently. I really like that.
Right. Try to the thread of creativity, like music is a common language a lot of people understand. They maybe know these people. And
Yeah.
so there's, when you see similar concepts or ideas, it's like, well, you can give an analogy, so you can
Hmm.
show somebody like, hey, this is a similar thing. And so
Yeah.
you can weave the thread. And that's kind of showing people like, even though something's in this lane, some of the same ideas from that lane apply to this lane over here or that one over there. They don't have to stay in their lane. And
Yes.
that's where a lot of people are like, "Oh, I gotta stay in my lane." Like, maybe not.
Right. Get out of your lane. Get out. Yeah. I love it. Good.
But, like, going back to, like, the weight loss, you said it's not just about food and exercise, it's, like, emotional and energetic release, and we had been talking about that at the beginning was, like, the start of your story,
Yeah.
and I wanted to get into the, depth of, like, the emotional and energetic release involved in that.
Yeah. So so often when anybody, men or women, start into that weight loss journey, number one, they're doing it for the wrong reasons. Like we're wanting to do it to fit in. We're wanting to do it for all these reasons that really aren't what we truly want. What's at the depth of it. And we can't connect with the depth of what we want, how we want to feel because we feel selfish. We feel selfish. We want to look better. We feel selfish that we're not happy that we've got two working legs and that we can move. We feel selfish that we want to eat healthier food and we think that that's something to be guilt driven and ridden around because we want to eat healthier and we want to change different. And so when it comes to that weight loss, it's not just the food, it's not just the exercising, it's going in and healing yourself. It's shifting your perspective, it's shifting how you think about yourself, how you look at yourself, how you treat yourself, how you let other people treat you as well. And when I brought the NLP, the release work, the energy moving into my program with my women, that's when I started to see that the sustainability was there. Prior, yes, they lost weight amazingly. They did amazing. However, they struggled to keep it off without
Mhm.
always having to be on.
On
Like
a
I
diet,
felt
on some kind of plan.
yeah, or just always like on it, like, okay, I'm gonna eat this and I'm gonna do this. It's like you got to plan every day and you have to fully be like this. And then you could keep it off. But as soon as you got lax, well, then all of a sudden 5, 10 pounds came back on. Then it was
Mhm.
25, right? Versus when we start going in and healing ourselves, pulling this energy out, removing the limiting beliefs of it's impossible for me to lose weight. It's not safe to be sexy. It's not safe to lose weight. All these limiting beliefs that we don't realize actually are
Mm.
blocking our ability. And the best way to share it is if you've ever thinking about starting your weight loss journey, and I did this so many times, you decide, all right, Monday, that's it. I'm going to start losing weight. And then all of a sudden these thoughts start coming in. Remember you tried losing weight like 5 other times, it didn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work for you. Weight loss isn't possible for you. Remember that time you started and then it cost so much money? Yeah, you better not do that because you're not worthy of money being spent on you, or you're not worthy. Like those are limiting beliefs that actually happen. Now, the trick of the limiting beliefs that we don't know, this unconscious and conscious, is we spend 5% of our day consciously knowing what we're doing, consciously having to think about it, right?
Mhm.
95% of our day is unconscious. That's our autopilot.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
where 67 thoughts a day, some of us more, I might be one of those. 95% of them are these negative beliefs and thoughts that are cycling in that we're not even aware of them because they just happen. That's what blocks our ability to lose weight. And when I go in and work with my women and remove that, all of a sudden their weight loss approach is entirely different. It's relaxed, it's not constantly having to be on, and it's enjoyable.
More
And there's a whole
sustainable, right? It's more sustainable.
yes. Oh, it's totally sustainable and you love it. You enjoy it. The journey is enjoyable. I mean, not every second, but there's no journey of every journey. There's not enjoyable seconds, but we just got to
Yeah.
be honest,
Well,
right?
yeah. Well, life is some level of discomfort at some points. It's always going
Yeah.
to be cruise on a calm waters.
Yeah.
It's like you have to experience the waves and the storms to kind of be able to learn. Like you can't like when you're building like software,
Yeah.
you make a lot of mistakes. Like stuff doesn't work. That's why you do testing. Like if you're
Yeah.
gonna do it perfect the first time, like why would you QA test it? Why would you quality assurance? Because you want to try to. Why would you kind of stress test it? We stress test stuff. And
Right.
engineers do that. We stress test the building to get a handle an earthquake, can it handle a fire, can it handle the wind? Because you got to see, like you had an idea. Let's see if it actually pans out. And if it didn't pan out, you're going to kill yourself. It's like, no, your job is that some of these things might not work. Like you don't beat yourself up because they didn't work. Because like if you're in it, like you see the failure rates. If you're a scientist, you see the experiments that didn't work. Right?
True.
It's like
Hmm.
you're an inventor. That's well, a lot of your stuff doesn't work. But
Yeah.
each time you learn about what didn't work, you learn something to make it work.
Exactly.
Instead of saying
Exactly.
it's like over, everything that didn't work gets you closer to the thing that does work.
Yes, yes, we bring it back to airplanes, and was it the was the Wilbur brothers? I don't remember. Who is the
Right,
it's a
right, brothers. Yeah.
the Wright brothers. I knew it was a W, not Wilbur, but Wilbur flew in a movie. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, like planes, if we think about that, man, there was a lot of not successes in the beginning of that, and now look at what we've got. And I probably shouldn't be talking about that with the news. So anyway, next topic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's like so your whole program for people to come to you,
Yeah.
if they click on that calendar, then you have a way for people to book directly with you to actually
Yeah.
get involved in your program.
It is. So this Calendly, the rising into my power, I love connecting with the women and I love knowing. I love knowing their journey, their story, their struggles. I love to know what they're going through. And I always like to drop into that, do some intuitive healing and work with them on the call to just really get to the bottom of what's blocking them. And then from there, answering all their questions that they have. And if they're interested, I can share with them the two different programs that I have available. And if they feel like I'm a good fit and I feel like they're a good fit, then we can proceed from there and jump into one of my programs. So that link will bring them in. It's a complimentary call and we spend 30 to 45 minutes, sometimes 60, just depends upon the flow of the conversation.
That's cool. So people can get direct in contact with you based on what we've been talking about today.
Yeah.
Just a feeling of well, trying to overcome where you are, and reclaim that self abandonment because we that's where we started is like people who have abandoned like themselves and how can they get back on track?
Yeah. It's finding yourself, finding your voice, stopping that abandonment, becoming aware that you are abandoning. Most of us women don't know. Most of us women think that, I mean, for instance, for me, for years, I believed that the life that I got, the body that I was in at 338 pounds, this is the life that I was given, the body I was given, and I didn't have a choice.
Mhm.
I honestly believe that God made two people, fortunate and unfortunate. And I believe that for whatever reason, he made me to be an unfortunate one. So, whoever you speak to, God, the universe, the higher power, I didn't realize that I could have the power to change my life. I could do whatever I wanted to make something different for myself. That's how I help women is bringing them out of that cloud of doubt, that cloud of disbelief, that lack of understanding that they don't have to stay living the life that they're living if they don't want to. They can change it, they can shift it by unraveling, upgrading, and then upleveling.
That's very empowering because I think a lot of people can put themselves in that spot. You're specifically helping women, but I think a
Yeah.
lot of people can get in that mindset where,
Yeah.
they've let things happen, in their own mind, or they've experienced like this with the programming of your mind. We've talked about
Yes.
reprogramming and reframing things,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that is really core because that's where you like, in programming we can wipe the memory and we can actually tell the computer this is a new set of instructions, forget the old instructions, this
Yes.
is what the
Yes.
new set of instructions are, and it's not going to go back to the old one because we
Exactly.
actually reprogrammed it. And so it's
That's
not back, it's not doing what it did 5 days ago, it's doing what it did from today. It's doing X, it's doing Y, it's doing Z.
exactly.
It's not gonna go do ABC.
And
It's
that's why I love healing. And that is, I mean, to answer your very first question, why do I do what I do? I clean women's slates and help them to create the slate they want to live from. And it's it's not putting a band-aid on it. It's not putting a quick fix. It's not putting a pill, a patch, a drug into your body that is giving you an altered state of being for a certain period of time where you then go back to who you were before you started it. This is completely shifting how you're showing up, how you're thinking, how you're feeling, and your life is what you want it to be. That's wild. Like, we are the artist of our life, the author of our life, the creator of our life, the musician of our life. Like, we freaking create the life we
Yeah,
want.
you don't want the illusionary or the low, artificial, pep that doesn't, have that kick, it's gone, right? Like, say if something's illusionary, like, it'll be there momentarily, right? And then
Yeah.
you lose it. Something that's structural, yeah, structural, fundamental, foundational change
Yes. Yes.
is not supposed to be easy.
No.
I think a lot of people want to say, "Well, I want to go to 0 to 100 like in 1 hour.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
get there like right now." Like that's not usually the recipe for success. Like you have to have
Yeah.
attainable wins. You have to be able to understand you might have some missteps and you're gonna not get it perfect until you get in alignment, until you get to the right frequency. Like there's gonna be discordance, there's gonna be noise, gonna be, you know, hitting the wrong note until you finally get that right chord and you're in
Yeah.
harmony.
It's
And
the
then
experience that we're supposed to have on life. Like, it's supposed to be a struggle at times because it's the experience and it's the growth and it's the becoming of who we are. Like, if I wouldn't have went through all that I went through, I mean, I only shared a snippet of my story. I could go back to when I was 8 and discovered that who I thought was my dad wasn't my dad. And I had a whole nother family 5 hours away. And my world turned upside down at 8 years old. If I wouldn't have went through that, I would not be able to say that I'm a life reinvention expert because I had to learn at that age what it feels like to not even know who you are and to be able to move through the ability to reinvent your life to become what it is and what you want. It started at 8 years old, but I had to go through all the things I went through to get to who I am today to be able to share what I share and do what I do.
it's all the building blocks of you. Like everything that
Yeah.
happens is like there's, I'm a Buddhist, so we tend to believe all the things that happen are on this path, and whether you thought they should happen or not, it was going to happen. You have to know how to live with it and grow with it and be within that mindset that you can
Yep.
be you, right? You will
Exactly.
actualize to be in alignment where the universe wants you to be. And where it wants you to be is not, you know, somewhere where you're not, don't have a growth mindset. It wants you to
Yep.
be in that mindset where you're going to be self-actualizing. That's where you should be.
That is so true, and I love that you share that. There's really, like, if you look at it in the spiritual space, it's not right or wrong, it's on path, off path. And so often we get pulled off path, and that's where we lose our authentic self, and that's where life gets more difficult, more challenging because we're really not on the path we're meant to be. And if we get back on path and we allow ourselves to go through the struggles, to go through the experiences, that's where our authentic self is being developed because we're on path and we're facing the exact obstacles we need to face. And it's also releasing and healing yourself so that you can be showing up in your most authentic space. When you're not authentic, it's easy to get off path because you are leading from a being that isn't who you truly are. It's identities that don't belong to you. So, healing at the end of the day, I know we're coming to the end of our time, which I've loved. I appreciate this time together, but healing all day long is what will change your life for forever.
Well, I think on that note, we'll end tonight's conversation. But I want to thank you for being a guest on the Family Electric Ghost podcast. We were live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. The Calendly link that we mentioned is fully clickable on those platforms. We're going to be on all the other platforms where you can listen to or watch a podcast by tomorrow. And again, thank you for being a guest on the show tonight. We had great time talking to you, and I hope the audience will uh, actually take our advice and click on the link if they feel that they want to talk to you, and that's open. They should we do encourage everybody who watches our shows to click on the links of the guests that are on the show so they can get to further dive down deep into what they actually been talking about all night. So I thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I loved our conversation.
Have a great night.
You too.